This is not a breathalyzer. This is an Alka-sensor. This is not a breathalyzer. This is a cam device. This is the breathalyzer. Let's dive into the world of breathalyzers and DWI charges. Hi, I'm Bill Powers. I'm a DWI defense lawyer, and today we're going to unpack the mystery behind those machines that have been the bane of many a night out. Our topic? Buckle up, because we're about to take a wild ride through the science, history, and implications of these devices. First things first, let's clear up a common misconception. When people say breathalyzer, they're often using it as a catch-all term for any device that measures alcohol in your breath. But in reality, there are several different types of these machines, each with its own quirks and potential issues. Let's start with the OG, the breathalyzer with a capital B. Invented in 1954 by Robert Borkenstein, this device was the gold standard for decades. It used a chemical reaction to determine alcohol content, changing color based on the amount of alcohol in your breath. Pretty neat for the 1950s, right? But technology marches on, and soon we had the Intoxilyzer 5000 joining the party. This machine uses infrared spectroscopy. Essentially, it shines infrared light through your breath sample and measures how much of that light is absorbed by the alcohol molecules. It's like a high-tech game of hide and seek, but with potentially serious consequences. Then we've got the Alka-sensor and its more advanced cousin, the ECIR2, both made by a company called Intoximeters. The Alka-sensor uses fuel cell technology, and the ECIR2 uses fuel cell and infrared technology. When the alcohol-laden breath passes over a fuel cell, it creates an electrical current. The strength of that current corresponds with the amount of alcohol present. It's like a tiny power plant in a box, turning your beer breath into electricity. The ECIR2 stands for EC, electrical chemical, as in fuel cell, and IR, as in infrared. Now you might be thinking, wow, these sound pretty high-tech and foolproof. But here's the kicker. No machine is perfect. Each of these devices over the years has had its own set of limitations and potential problems. And that's where things get interesting from a legal perspective. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Back in the day, the original breathalyzer was considered the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas, the absolute pinnacle of alcohol detection technology. Police departments and prosecutors swore by it. But looking at it now, well, let's just say it might get a few chuckles in a modern police station. It's a bit like comparing a rotary phone to the latest and greatest smartphone. The science behind these machines is fascinating, but it's not without its flaws. Breath testing devices operate on a principle called Henry's Law, which essentially states that the amount of dissolved gas in a liquid is proportional to its partial pressure above the liquid. In English, the amount of alcohol in your breath is supposed to correlate directly to the amount in your blood. But here's where it gets tricky. These machines don't actually measure your blood alcohol content directly. They're estimating it based on your breath and a host of other assumptions. And that estimation process, it's not always accurate as we'd like to believe. For instance, some of these machines can be thrown off by a variety of factors. Ever use mouthwash before driving? That could potentially skew your results. Have acid reflux? That could cause alcohol from your stomach to come back up into your mouth, leading to an inflated reading. Even the temperature of your breath can affect the results. It's like trying to hit a moving target while riding a unicycle. It's possible, but prone to error. The most accurate form of BAC sampling is blood testing. And let's not forget about calibration. These machines need to be regularly calibrated to ensure accuracy. If a machine isn't properly maintained, its results could be way off base. It's like trying to weigh yourself on a scale that hasn't been zeroed out. You might be in for a nasty surprise. Now let's fast forward today. We've got some pretty snazzy new devices on the market. There are handheld breathalyzers that can fit in an officer's pocket, dash-mounted units called the ignition interlock device that can be installed in your car, and even smartphone breathalyzers for more personal use. These newer models often use multiple types of sensors and protections to increase accuracy and reduce the impact of interfering substances. But here's a sobering thought. Even with all our technological advancements, we're still relying on machines to make decisions that can have life-altering consequences. Many people have been convicted of DWI based at least in part on breathalyzer results. Some have even gone to jail. And while these convictions may have been justified in many cases, it's worth considering the potential for error. It's also worth noting that what we consider state-of-the-art today may be seen as primitive in the future. Just as we look back at the original breathalyzer with a mix of nostalgia and amusement, future generations might view our current technology in the same light. It's a bit like watching old sci-fi movies. What once seemed cutting edge can quickly become quaint. So what's the takeaway from all this? Well, it's not to dismiss breathalyzers entirely. They can be valuable tools in the fight against drunk driving, and they've undoubtedly saved lives. But it's important to understand their limitations. If you're ever in a situation where you're asked to take a breathalyzer test, remember that these machines aren't infallible. They're tools, not crystal balls, and the results should be viewed as part of the larger picture, not the whole story. That's what lawyers mean by the totality of the circumstances. It's also a reminder of the importance of responsible drinking. The best way to avoid issues with breathalyzers is to avoid driving after drinking altogether. If you want to avoid hiring a DWI lawyer like me, use a designated driver, or call a cab, or use a ride-sharing service. It's always better to be safe than sorry. In the end, breathalyzers are just one piece of the puzzle in DWI cases. They're tools that can provide valuable information, but they shouldn't be, in every instance, the be-all and end-all in determining guilt or innocence. As with any legal matter, it's important to consider all the evidence and the circumstances surrounding each individual case. That's all for today's deep dive into the world of breathalyzers. I hope this has given you a new perspective on these devices and their role in our legal system. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Are breathalyzers reliable enough to be the cornerstone of DWI convictions? Or should we be looking at alternative methods to determine impairment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're pondering those questions, don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video informative. Your engagement helps us continue to explore these complex legal topics. Until next time, stay informed and keep your legal arguments sharp.